ESBR Boxing with us back, myself and Paul Kelly. That means one thing and one thing only. We're in preview mode, and we are previewing the super middleweight division. Before we get to that fight, just want to say like and subscribe to the channel. We've got all your boxing needs under one roof. Like, subscribe, and engage. Obviously, that'll help inform our content going forward. But Paul, as I mentioned, we are in the super middleweight division. Well, fan favourite, I suppose a favourite of yours, Diego Pacheco, is here. We're reviewing his fight against Stephen Nelson, which takes place obviously at the Cosmopolitan Las Vegas. Now we've got WBC USA Super Middleweight, but WBO International Super Middleweight titles on the line. But to be honest with you, those minority titles aren't what we're here to talk about, Paul. We're here to talk about one thing only, and that's how far Diego Pacheco can go. You're a big fan, as we've obviously mentioned before. I'm going to throw you straight into the lines then, Paul. You've obviously been critical of Canelo Alvarez previously. I'm talking Pacheco versus Canelo Alvarez, a fight that takes place maybe later this year, Paul. Does who wins that, Paul, and how? Talk to me.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, mate. Big fan of Diego Pacheco. I think at 23 years old, like he's scary good. I think it's one of them where it's kind of on this fringe level. I mean, you think you're maybe apprehensive of letting him go because he's only 23. Just let him go. He could wipe through this division. He genuinely could. He's that good. Probably could go up to light heavyweight as well. Maybe even cruiser in the future. He's a big lad. He's 6'4". Do you know what, mate? People might call me a Canelo hater for one or two reasons, but yeah, mate, Pacheco, I'm backing him to beat Canelo.
Here we
If they
go, baby.
if they fought back end of this year, 2020, early 2026, clock's ticking on Canelo. Maybe not old in terms of age, but obviously been around for a long, long time, and that's fair play to him. He's had an incredible career, but I do definitely think that he's maybe slightly past his best and on the decline somewhat. Whether or not that, I actually don't really think that fight will happen though. I don't see it happening. I think if you're Canelo, why would it happen? It does make sense. I'm not going to sit here and say he's ducking Pacheco or anything like that. But if you're Canelo, why would you want to take an up and coming guy who's scary puncher? He's only 23, a lot way bigger than you. Um, if I'm Canelo, you maybe just do chase that, depending on what happens with Bivol Beterbiev too. Do you try and get that win? Do you try and just keep hold of the belt somehow? And fight your like kind of like your Berlangas among the years again. Who knows? I back Pacheco to beat Canelo, mate. Yeah, I do. I'm high on Diego Pacheco, baby. I am high on him. What about you?
You know what? It's actually interesting because you look at, like you say, you look at Diego Pacheco, 23 years old, 22-0 record. And it's one of those where, like, he's really flown through that the experience. Look at 22-0 record. You expect that to be someone maybe sort of 24, 25, 26, like getting to that sort of numbers. So he's obviously experienced as well. And I think Canelo is no secret. We've mentioned this on the channel. Is I think he's on the decline, which is not a surprise. And the miles on the clock and the fights he's had and the championship fights he's had and how long he's been going at it, what, since 15, etc. I don't actually think the fight will happen. I agree with you. I don't think the fight will happen. But I give him a live chance. I really do give Pacheco a live chance. I look at it almost like Benavidez, like those sort of fighters that are like, are going to stick it on Canelo. They're not going to come and be sort of overwhelmed. Like we've seen people, British fighters go in there and be overwhelmed. I think they're one of those guys are going to get on the front foot and have the power to actually hurt him. So I don't necessarily think he'd take it. I think he could win. I really do. I do think he could win. I'd still make Canelo's favourite in the fight, maybe for you. I don't think Canelo would stop him. I think it'd be a compelling fight. I think he'd really throw the sink at him as well. So I'd still back Canelo at this stage, but I do think, like we say, in a year, maybe 2 years' time, if he gets onto that next level, and he sort of starts, stopping and impressing there, you can look at it and go, actually, yeah, I think this is divisional takeover that's happening. But let's talk a bit more. I suppose you said obviously you think that he could, could run the sort of super middleweight division. You mentioned also that you think he could go up to light heavy. I mean, you look at the difference in there, what's it, 168 to 175, so only sort of, £7 there. But do you think there's any possibility with the frame that he's got as well that you could even look at Pacheco jumping to 200 to cruiserweight? Do you think he could become a three-weight world champion, or do you think the limit is kind of super middle and light heavy for him?
Yeah, it's interesting, mate. I think he wins a world title at super middle. Whether that be against Canelo or whether those belts become fragmented. I think he definitely wins one at 168. I'm backing him to win one at light heavy as well. Once Beterbiev, Bivol, and all are gone, it could be your man. It could be Alexa Pacheco and maybe even David Benavidez. They could be the kings of the light heavyweight division. Imagine that fight in a few years' time. Oh. And then do you know what, mate? You look at it and you think like the example I use is Badu Jack, right? Badu Jack won a fully fledged world title at cruiserweight. He beat Lungu Makabu. Um, and he was a super middleweight fighting the likes of James DeGale, George Groves, everyone like that. I know they're big enough super middles and they've gone all the way up. He's gone all the way up to cruiserweight, later stages of his career, and still been able to do it and win a legitimate world title. I think Diego Pacheco could win up a cruiserweight. Yeah, he's 6'4". Yes, I know he's thin and stuff, but he's still young and only grew into that. The more weight he puts on, he hits, you know, park the boxing for 3 months, hit the gym, build a bit of muscle, and yeah, he could be a force to be reckoned with. Way down the line, I'm talking here, by the way, cruiserweight, good bit down the line into his late 20s and even his 30s. I think Pacheco could win a world title at cruiserweight as well. Not heavyweight though, but yeah, three-weight world champion. I'll say super middle, light heavy, and cruiser.
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually going to agree with you, Paul. Like, maybe not what people of this channel, fans of this channel, want to see, but I think you make a very compelling argument. I think, yeah, the leap, obviously in that frame, the leap from sort of super middle to light heavy is not too profound. And then, like you say, like he's only 23. If he sort of fills out, whether he goes and sticks on some muscle or whether he just kind of lives a life a little bit outside the gym, gets his way up that way. I think there's also a possibility that he can maybe get a title up there at cruiserweight as well. It's an exciting fight as well. Carries power, so definitely be, I suppose, opportunities and fans are keen to see that. But Paul, we're looking at, you mentioned, I suppose, matchmaking and saying they've been a bit reluctant maybe to push him on as being still so young. But this fight is quite intriguing, I suppose, in a way. You look at Stephen Nelson, undefeated guy, 20-0, 16 KOs, 36, so a lot older, but obviously carries power. I mean, I suppose the main thing for me is noticeably shorter. So we've given up obviously sort of height and reach again. So I suppose you seeing this as a kind of as a decent step up? Are you seeing this as kind of quite one-sided sort of Pacheco still? Or do you think this will prove to be a good test? And Willie, Paul, we're coming to predictions here. Obviously, Willie hands Stephen Nelson the first stoppage loss. How is it going to play out in your mind?
Yeah, I think it's when you're fighting someone undefeated, you always have to be wary, like however padded their record may be. And I think Stephen Nelson does have a slightly padded record, but I think Diego Pacheco's the real deal. I think he does hand Steve Nelson his first defeat. I think he hands him his first knockout defeat. We'll have to be on guard though, as you say, especially early with those. Nelson can clearly punch too. He'll know he's a big underdog here. He'll probably think that his only way of winning this fight is via stoppage. But I think Pacheco will break him down and stop him probably mid rounds. I'd maybe go round 6-7. I'm gonna go maybe 5-6, 6-7 for Pacheco to stop Stephen Nelson. But again, it wouldn't surprise me if it was earlier.
We are here, we are unified, we are aligned on the preview show. We are saying Pacheco is going to win this via KO, and I actually agree with Paul. I think mid rounds, I was going to say 5-7 myself. So yeah, I think he's going to kind of break him down. I think he's obviously got the size and power. I think a 36 as well. I mean, I know, interesting to see how much Nelson's got, and not necessarily over it, but again, you look at it and go, he's probably on the slide compared to obviously Pacheco's on the ascent. So yeah, we all agree. Paul, guys, let us know in the comments whether you agree with this really on the fight predictions. But I suppose more importantly, really, how you see Paul's prediction for Pacheco against Canelo, which could be one of the most sensational things we've ever heard on this channel, and also whether you think it'd become a 3-weight, 2-weight, or even a 1-weight world champion at super middle. But Paul, thank you very much for joining me, guys. Like and subscribe, obviously, as mentioned at the top of this video. We'll be back soon with further previews. Paul, thanks for joining me, and as always, guys, thanks for watching.
Thanks, mate. All the best.